What's up everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be tying one of my all-time favorite nymphs for trout. This fly is super flashy, super effective, and you're going to catch a lot of fish with it. Stay tuned and we're going to get into it. Let's go. Alright everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be tying one of my all-time favorite patterns. It's basically just kind of a flashy pheasant tail with a bit of CDC put into it. Hook in here today, size 12, and then I got a 3.5mm silver bead in here. I'm going to start off with just some brown thread, fairly thin, doesn't have to be anything special. And I'm going to start this behind the bead. Come in here, snip this off. I'm going to wrap this back to right about there, right where the bend starts on the back of the hook. So I'm going to cut off a few fibers of this tail. Bunch those up, and I'm going to come in, tie those in. A couple loose wraps, just like that. Now I'm going to come in with my fingers and kind of prop this feather so that it's up on the top of the hook shank. Looks pretty good there. Do a couple wraps over this. I'm going to wrap it all the way up to the bead, and then I'm going to snip some of these excess fibers off. Just like that. Now you're going to want to grab a piece of wire. I'm just going to use this Semperfli silver wire. This stuff is pretty good. And I'm going to use my dull scissors to cut that wire. I'm going to cut like a 3-inch piece off, and so I'm going to take my wire and I'm going to kind of fit it right in here to the back of this slotted bead. I'm going to take a few turns over this, wrap this down to basically right before my tail starts. And one thing you need to be careful of when you're doing this is that you don't wrap it too far down and it's going to mess up your tail. You want to wrap it right down to your tail, but you don't want to go over the top of where you have it wrapped on your tail. That'll kind of mess that up. Alright, so I got that in there, and now I'm going to take a piece of pheasant tail. I'm going to take, like, most people take like 6 fibers for this. I'm only going to take like 4 fibers. And I'm going to cut 4 fibers off the pheasant tail. What I'm going to do here now is take these by their tips, take the pheasant tail by its tip, and I'm going to tie that in, tie those tips in right there in front of that tail. So now we've got those tied in. I'm going to wrap this all the way up, and I'm going to throw this in my bobbin cradle. Now I'm going to take my pheasant tail, and I'm just going to do even turns all the way up the body. When I get to here, a little bit before that bead starts, I'm going to catch those fibers, tie them off with a couple turns, come in and trim those off. And now I'm going to throw my thread back in my bobbin cradle again. I'm going to take my wire, and this time I'm going to wrap it opposite of the way that I wrap my pheasant tail. And again with this, I really want to keep these nice and even. I've got that wrapped up there. I'm going to catch this wire here, and I'm just going to come in and trim this wire, because normally I would just helicopter that off, but this wire is super strong and it does not like to be helicoptered off. So alright, so now we got our body all good to go, and the next step is actually grab your whip finisher, and we're going to whip finish this thread here. 3, come in here, trim that. I'm going to grab some of this bright orange. This is, I don't know what size this is of thread, but super bright, super UV noticeable. And so I'm going to take this, start this right behind the bead, come in here, trim that off. And now I'm going to grab some of this ice dub in the peacock color. This is a good color. If you don't want to use real peacock herl, then you can just use some of this ice dub. And now I'm going to dub this on here. Doesn't have to be perfect. Now I'm going to wrap this up. And I got a little too much on here, so I'm just going to strip that out. And then a couple wraps right behind the bead. Looks good. We can trim it up later if we need to. And now the final step is to take your thread, and we're going to create a dubbing loop. And so all we're doing is I'm going to strip out a good bit of thread here, and I'm going to take my finger and I'm going to catch that thread, and I'm going to do a loop around my finger, and I'm going to come right here, 1, 2 in front, and then next step is to spin your thread that's connected to your bobbin around this loop 2 times. 1, 2, and now we're going to do 2 more wraps, and we should be good there. So now we're going to put this in our bobbin cradle here. Alright, next step is to grab your dubbing loop cradle. This is just one by Umpqua, and so I'm going to throw that in there. I'm just going to let that sit. And now I'm going to prepare my CDC feather. I just have this plastic bag full of CDC feathers. I have my feather here, as you can see, pretty has some good long fibers on it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of pull these fibers out so that they're straight. And I'm going to take my dubbing loop and I'm going to throw this feather in there. And I want this thread to sit as close to this stem as possible. Alright, I don't know if you can see that, but I've got that in there just like that. And now I'm going to do 2 twists to tighten it up. I'm going to come in with my scissors and I'm just going to cut as close as I can to this stem, or to the stem of the feather. It may twist up on you a little bit, it's okay. Alright, so I got it like that. I got all those feathers in there. And now I'm just going to spin these up, just like this. Make sure they're nice and tight. You don't want to spin this up too much, or else you will break your thread. That's why you want strong thread. So I got that on there just like that, and now I'm basically just going to wrap these CDC feathers into here. And I'm going to kind of pull them back as I do this. Just like that. Alright, once I got all those wrapped, I'm going to take my regular thread, take it out of the bobbin cradle, and I'm going to catch this dubbing loop, just like that. Now I can come in here and trim dubbing loop. Alright, so I got that trimmed there, and now you can see that I want a good bit of this orange thread to be showing up here at the right behind the bead. So I'm just going to do a couple of wraps to really make that thread stand out. So now we got a couple wraps on there. I'm going to take the whip finisher, 1, 2, 3. All I'm going to do is 3 whip finishes. That looks good there. I'm going to take my brush and kind of brush this out a little bit. Just like that. And now I'm going to take a little bit of some UV glue. Do a little drop right there. You can use your finger to kind of move it back on top of that thread. I'm going to clean up this head, my shirt. Looks good there. All those fibers are pulled back just like they need to be. Hit this with a UV light. And you're good to go. That is the hot-spotted CDC Frenchie. Great fly. Give it a try. And hopefully catch a fish with it. Thanks for watching, guys. See you on the next one.